A direct hotline to preempt conflict in the South China Sea. China and the Philippines have agreed to set up communication channels on the South China Sea and handle disputes peacefully. The Chinese Foreign Ministry announced this in a joint communique after talks between President Xi Jinping and his Philippine counterpart, Ferdinand Marcos. Both sides have had tense moments over the South China Sea, which Beijing claims almost entirely. They've agreed to hold meetings between their coast guards and hold an annual security dialogue. President Marcos is in Beijing for a state visit, which ends today. Both sides signed a host of agreements for cooperation in infrastructure, fisheries, tourism, and other areas. And for more, Buena Bernal joins us live from Manila. Buena, China and the Philippines agreeing to handle maritime disputes peacefully. What does that mean for Filipino fishermen in the immediate term who have the most to lose in the South China Sea?
Well, one of the notable agreements out of the 14 signed during the state visit to China of Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was that between the foreign ministries of the two countries. That's an agreement for a direct communication mechanism of the maritime offices of these foreign ministries. And those are maritime issues, obviously including the South China Sea, or the West Philippine Sea, as the Philippines calls its territory there. A crucial waterway that separates them, one could say, both physically and metaphorically. Now, how different will that be from status quo is a wait and see, because if you look at what's happening in status quo, each time an unfortunate incident happens in the South China Sea involving Filipinos, whether they're civilians, members of the Navy, and the Chinese, often personnel of the China Coast Guard, a diplomatic protest or a diplomatic note is filed, or there are also, of course, the media reports on these incidents. And in recent incidents, particularly in the Bloomberg reported Chinese reclamation of previously unoccupied territories in the disputed Spratly Islands, as well as the Philippine military reported swarming of Chinese vessels near Thito or Pagasa Island occupied by the Philippines, or even the Philippine Navy reported forcible retaking of a debris from the Philippine Navy, China would respond with a denial or a labeling of the report as fake news. So hopefully with that direct communication mechanism, exchanges would be frank, and you'll see less of the denials and more of the discussions on how to prevent these incidents.
Buena, this direct communication hotline is just one of several agreements that was reached. President Marcos also secured $22.8 billion in pledges from China for investment. Now, which sectors are likely to benefit from this?
Well, that's right. During this state visit, the Philippines received, $13.7 billion in investment commitments to renewable energy, $1.72 billion for investment commitments in agribusiness, $7.32 billion in what the Office of the Press Secretary called strategic monitoring, which included investments for e-vehicles as well as mineral processing. Now, other notable agreements signed was a cooperation on agriculture, which is really one of the main areas of focus of the Marcos Jr. administration. He even sits as presently the Agriculture Secretary. There's also a memorandum of understanding signed for infrastructure. That is a cooperation on the ambitious global infrastructure program of China, the Belt and Road Initiative, which, as you know, is how China has been able to expand its influence, utilize its soft power across Africa and Asia.
Thanks so much for that. Buena Bernal speaking to us there from Manila.